infuriating for me, Kent.
I can understand.
I take this one personally because a lot of good people have been injured. Hear what's happening in Japan today, Kent? You hear what they're talking about?
Yeah, I saw our good friend on the internet, Dr. John Campbell, brought this report to our attention.
He sure did, and what it has to say there is
It's quite shocking
very shocking.
and saddening.
In many cases, infuriating for me, Kent.
I can understand.
I take this one personally because a lot of good people have been injured, and we've lost many young, good people are not here today because of it.
Well, it seems to be more acceptable to be spoken about on YouTube as long as we watch our language, I think. But
It's a tough one, Kent. We struggle.
It is. It's been a topic that's near and dear to our hearts, and one of the reasons this show exists because of the just the unjustified nature of everything that happened and our rights taken. And
That's right. And us
all the
being able
harm
to
that's
use
coming
our
from that.
freedom of speech and talk about this because we have to talk about this.
So there was it was quite an interesting press conference. It was, I believe, the Surgeon General of Florida, and he was having a press conference with a couple doctors, and he had some pretty interesting things to say. Check it out.
React 19 is a group that tends to the needs of the vaccine injured. Right now, there's a tragedy going on in the background, and that tragedy is that first, a product was designed too rapidly without sufficient testing, and that is the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. Second, that product was pushed out, often forced out, and distributed with coercion to so many millions, tens of millions of people in this country and millions of people around the world to the tune of billions of people in total. And finally, when people were injured by that inadequately tested product, the ability to study their injuries, the ability to help them, which is what is needed when you've got to be able to collect data on patients, you've got to allow physicians to test different treatments, you've got to allow physicians to be able to communicate with one another in a very open manner and to be able to communicate with patients in a very open manner. All of that was demolished. So terrible things happened, and even the ability to rectify those terrible things was not made possible because of the infrastructure that we saw for communication, for clinical care, for even patient interaction and connection with social media, censorship, and things like that. So it's a terrible crime. It's still happening. It's happening in the background.
So everyone is going to have a difference of opinion on this, but more and more doctors and people of significance are starting to come out and speak about this. I believe there's a National Citizens Inquiry or something in America. Here's
No, that's here in Canada.
well, there's one from America though, and here's a clip from U.S. Congress, I believe, one of their investigative committees. Check it out.
Our next witness is Dr. Jordan Vaughn. Dr. Vaughn is a physician and clinical researcher in Birmingham, Alabama. As owner and CEO of MedHelp Clinics, Dr. Vaughn has directed his organization to the leading edge of early outpatient treatment of COVID-19 for his patients and greater Birmingham community. Dr. Vaughn has treated over 4,000 long COVID and COVID vaccine injured patients. Dr. Vaughn.
Thank you. Chairman Johnson and Ranking Member Blumenthal, thank you for having me. I'm going to dovetail a little bit off what Dr. McCullough said. And one of the things that, as a clinician who also had about 200 people working for him and actually seeing about 170,000 patients a year, when COVID came along, I had to really figure out how to not only help my staff and make sure they're safe, but also help the patients that my organization was responsible for. And that really made me dive into understanding the pathology. And what I came away with was understanding that the spike protein, the S1 subunit specifically, is not a benign protein. It triggers inflammation, it disrupts endothelial barriers, it induces fibrin resistant to breakdown, and it promotes a lot of amyloid aggregates, which is what I research. These effects impair oxygen delivery, damage blood vessels, contribute to clotting pathologies that manifest with a lot of the symptoms that we're seeing in the long COVID and vaccine injured, which to this day is a huge amount of people. We're talking upwards of 10 to 15 million people in America that are being affected by the consequences of COVID in the long form or vaccine injury. And the typical symptoms are things like heart racing, brain fog, shortness of breath, and post-exertional malaise. In my clinic, I actually use immunofluorescent microscopy to be able to actually see what's going on in the blood and look for these amyloid aggregates. Some as young as teenagers that are unable to stand. Others are previously active adults suffering small strokes without typical identifiable causes. These are not abstract theories. They're the lived realities of my patients in Alabama and beyond. The mRNA injection, heralded as a solution, introduced a novel mechanism, lipid nanoparticles delivering modified mRNA that instructs the cells to produce a stabilized spike protein. Unlike traditional vaccines, this approach resulted in uncontrolled production of the spike protein for an unknown duration and distributes it widely across organs, including the heart, brain, and vasculature, and ovaries and testes. The actual EMA, their assessment of Comirnaty, which is Pfizer's vaccine, noted biodistribution beyond the injection site, contradicting claims that the vaccine stays in the arm. And a recent groundbreaking study using single-cell precision nanocarrier identification revealed LNP accumulation in the heart tissue of mice with adverse proteomic changes in immune and vascular proteins, raising concerns about the cardiac complications that dovetail with what we were seeing when we were looking at the COVID-19 vaccine myocarditis. I will tell my first encounter with a vaccine injury came in winter of 2021. 69-year-old man from Alabama presented with unexplained shortness of breath. He was a patient of mine. I really had no other reason that he had this shortness of breath. And after the second Pfizer dose, he actually had significant shortness of breath. I couldn't figure it out in a sense because it would typically be that he had a pulmonary embolism, but empirical anticoagulation and antiplatelet therapy brought rapid improvement. This case prompted deeper investigation that the spike protein's ability to induce fibrin that's resistant to breakdown, activate platelets irreversibly, and damage the inside of our vessels that run to every part of our body and every organ, explained his symptoms and those of thousands more since. I have treated approximately 4,000 patients suffering from long COVID and vaccine injury, or both. Many were young and previously healthy. For those with vaccine injury, trust in public institutions has been shattered. Many were coerced under the August 2021 federal mandates, despite legitimate hesitations due to prior infection or personal health risks. They knew their body better than the agencies. Now disabled, they are dismissed or ignored by the systems that mandated their compliance.
Yeah. Pretty crazy stuff, Kent.
It's saddening because it's like the saddest I told you so. You know?
Well, it's...
And I think most people are just keeping their heads in the sand and hoping that it doesn't happen to them and, everything just goes away. And I hope that's the case, too. I certainly wish everyone health and happiness and safety. So, but,
Absolutely.
if you're going to move forward and perhaps... some of you may have health issues, unexplainable things, or you should have all the information. Just because you don't want to know something or information is uncomfortable, sometimes you need to know it. Because 10 years from now, if you have a significant issue and no one can explain it, well, perhaps
It was caused. And...
perhaps.
Well, what they're saying in out of
not.
that Japanese report, the more you take, the quicker you're going to pass. And in a nutshell, that's what they're saying. So,
and their survey,
but they're not the only ones out there that are coming. There's now quite a few other peer-reviewed studies that have shown the destruction this stuff has done, and the unnecessary lives they have taken. right? And what's sad about it all is we all know somebody that has had or is battling a problem, or maybe not even here today. There's many stories, and there they go. And that's why maybe now there's a hesitancy in taking any more of this stuff. And let's just face it, Kent, we're seeing what's happening now in China is spreading now into parts of Europe. I'm going to say it will only be time. We'll see seeing that same thing happening in the U.S. And it's kind of like how COVID started, and all of a sudden, boom, we're living some different times and lockdowns and flattening curves.
Well, speaking of that, here is a short snippet of Dr. John Campbell, the reason that sparked our interest again. Obviously, we're always interested in this topic, but every now and then a sliver of light gets through the clouds and it piques our interest. So check it out.
Welcome to this talk. Now, I want to bring some important information coming out of Japan, which seems to have a greater openness than other countries that could be mentioned to being aware about COVID vaccine harms. Let me give you some of the headline information first. Decide if you want to watch. Now, this is from Dr. Morikami. Of course, I pronounced that incorrectly. Senior Fellow, Molecular Oncology and Pharmacology. And we'll just look at his main points. And once we've looked at his main points, then we'll look at where he got it and the validity of this data. The more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die. Talking about COVID vaccine doses, of course, direct quote. Now, these, of course, are all from basically Google Translate, AI translations, with no reason to assume they're not accurate. And we believe they are accurate, actually. They have been verified by Japanese speakers. The more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter period. So what he's saying here is if you have more doses, excess deaths occur more quickly for people that have had more doses of mRNA vaccine. I mean, this kind of data that's around now and the fact that these vaccines are still allowed to be used is just incomprehensible now. Regulators are going to have to answer for this sooner or later because it's just preposterous now, in my view. So the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter period. Among the vaccinated, death peak emerged especially between 19 and 120 days post-vaccination. Now, this seems to be the time, sort of 3-4 months, 90 to 120 days post-vaccination. Now, of course, doctors are very much aware now of the risk of myocarditis, for example, myopericarditis, occurring typically a day to a week, typically, after vaccination. So when it's been 90 days, 120 days, they've kind of lost interest and don't make the link anymore. But this is what this data shows, that the link is there. Now, we also did a video a few days ago, with Professor Robert Clancy, who has been reviewing a paper by an Australian statistician that shows the three, essentially the same thing, we believe. Excess deaths 3 months after vaccination. Now, we can't say more than that yet because Professor Clancy hasn't released it yet, but that's what's currently being worked on, or the review is doing. The reviewer has not yet released that paper. But it does seem to be a consistency here with the Japanese data, which of course is interesting. Anyway, so the video is from the Information Disclosure Request Team of Japan, the journalist and the scientist and the politician. Now, we've already looked at the scientist. That is Professor Morikami. This is from the journalist concerned, that we did show a picture as well. And reluctance from the Japanese government as well. If the government won't do it, then the people investigating the mass deaths, we're talking about mass deaths here, of Japanese people, database of 18 million vaccinated people revealed for the first time. This is a key discovery. The more doses, the more peak shifts, indicating the toxicity accumulates. As we said, more vaccines, people tend to die quicker. The toxicity overlaps. The more doses you receive, the faster people will die. And that's the representative of the Japanese government there, or member of the legislature in Japan, to be more accurate. So these are the pictures from the video. There's this one as well, different graphic. Again, the quotes associated with this: we found that as the number of doses increased, the peaks of death appears faster, meaning the more doses you get, the sooner you're likely to die within a shorter time period. Shows that if the vaccine had no toxicity or didn't induce deaths, there wouldn't be a peak. Pretty straightforward, really. And the more doses you receive, the faster people die. So there we have it. You can watch there's clips of the video available with translation. Don't know about a translation of the whole video yet. I expect that's to come, and we look forward to more detailed papers. But for now, this is enough to suspend mRNA vaccines and all COVID vaccines, in my view.
Many people have been reporting on this. Unfortunately, I don't think the mainstream global CBC, nobody's talking about these reports that are coming out and peer-reviewed studies that prove that this medical procedure that was forced on us isn't as good as they claim it is, and it isn't very safe, effective, or it.
Well, the saddest part too is, they often say the damage is done, but it's not fully, right? Because we won't know the repercussions of this for 5, 10, 15, perhaps 20 years. And now, a word from our sponsors. Just kidding. It's still just us. But we're bored, and we're talking about certain things we can't mention. So
Right. Medical procedures.
Don't know how this happened, but I just happened to have the culminative analysis of post-authorization adverse event reports, the World Safety Report by Pfizer. It's just right here. The fire's getting a bit low. Nobody needs this. Nobody needs this.
Yeah.
Who needs safety data?
That's right. Safe and effective. Safe and effective.
Safe from prosecution and effective for what it was made for.
Was it just we made a mistake, or
No one's even said that.
nobody's talked about that? Like
And that's the main problem, is we will never solve problems we don't actually address and talk about. So that's why we do. So we are not medical professionals, but we just see this information and try to present it to you so that moving forward, if you do have issues in the future, you have as much information as you can to base intelligent decisions on. So wish you all the best, happiness, health, success, all the good things.
Take care, folks.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, and start talking to each other about this. It may save someone's life.
Well, I think this is going to affect everybody's family at some point or another, perhaps. So it's best to be aware. Keep your sticks on the ice.
Ciao.
Later.
We'll take a few questions. Anyone who has questions for Dr. Corey, Dr. Walskog, or myself?
Was one vaccine worse than another, and what's the future for people who are already taken vaccine? Is there a problem as they go with their lives?
Yeah, very important questions. So first of all, multiple studies now, to be very clear, multiple studies now show that of the two, Moderna and Pfizer, Pfizer is definitely worse. Pfizer is worse for cardiovascular side effects related to blood clotting. Pfizer is worse for neurologic effects, and Pfizer is worse for serious adverse events overall. A few studies have shown that Pfizer may be associated with an increase in mortality also compared to Moderna. The vaccines, they are not the same. You've heard my opinion, Dr. Corey's, Dr. Walskog's opinions about their use in general, but between the two of them, Pfizer is definitely worse. You've got probably more myocarditis cases with Moderna, but Pfizer is worse overall. And then, the second question you asked is a really good one. Another doctor that I think probably all of us admire, a doctor named Dr. Mary Bowden in Texas, she's been writing a bit about how she's been testing antibody levels. And what she's finding is that levels of antibody to spike protein for people who have been vaccinated, who are her patients, they remain elevated for long periods of time. And that's not normal. That's completely abnormal. So this is just part of the reason why we absolutely need more infrastructure in this area, more scientific infrastructure, more funding to support the patients and the physicians and the scientists who can help us understand what the long-term impacts are for all populations who've received these products. Any other questions? Yeah.
Quick question. So can you speak a little bit to the determination to remove it from the vaccine schedule for healthy children versus the verbiage of saying for all children?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we get there. Obviously, there's a difference, and I hope that we get there because these products, they should not be used in any human beings. And there's some people who are trying to put them in animals too, and I think many of us wouldn't want to eat that food either, that meat.
Sort of along those lines, what's your recommendation for the bloomer population if they're weighing whether or not they should continue?
Okay, yeah. So I apologize that it hasn't been clear. They shouldn't take them. They are products that should not be going into human beings.
Canada, maple syrup.